Okay, back by popular demand, we're going to work on the 9. So what I want to do is I need to remove this lower guard, pull the grill guards, the radiator guards off, pull the top tin cover off, pull the radiator out. I need to take top and bottom tank off, clean it out, check it, put it back together, then pull the hard nose off and get in there, do the fan bearings, the idler pulley bearing, check the front motor mount. It has a piece of rubber in it. Make sure it's good. You can't get them anymore. You can get aftermarket and they're junk. Don't know what I'd do if I had to replace it, but it's a long ways in there if you don't. Then I can take this and blast it inside out and get it painted, set it out here. That's done. And then get this thing pushed in the shop so I can go to town on the rest of it. So there's only 2 bolts holding this guard in, and that block may not be long enough. It's tipped kind of funny, so I need something to hold it up front. But anyway, it's been bent really bad in here. Looks like somebody's cut this off before and replaced this, bent it again, then took a torch to it. Anyway, this guard's all bent. That needs straightened up. Anyway, there's nothing on here that's easy to work on, and I mean nothing. Everything requires a service truck, forklift, something. Oh, you can take hoses and lines and stuff and bolts out. That's about all. Anyway, my rubber's back there in my torsion bar. That one looks split and nasty. I don't know how. I've never had a D9 with those in them. Not sure how you could change those without dropping the hard bar down and lifting the front end up, because I'm sure they're, I don't know if they're just sitting in there. I don't know how they could have anchored these. They have to just be sitting there, don't they? I don't know. Something's got to hold them. What the heck holds them? I don't know. Anyway, hard bar's got 2 shims there. Not really any there. If you're gonna pull a hard bar, basically you need it put back together, except for the belly pans. Well, that's got a huge gap under it. It's been welded before. What I've done before remove the hard bar while it's the tractor's all together is I have the blade on it and put a whole bunch of blocks under the blade, undo this stuff, then push down on the blade, which will raise all this way up in the air. You have to take one of these rollers off and then you can fish it out through the side. Otherwise, you just tip the tractor upside down and take it off, huh? Huh? Yeah, so let's see what happens here. Not even moving. It's not a good sign. Whoa, there we go. Oh, that's not doing it. Dang it. Go to the other side. Let's see what we can do. Okay, that wasn't as dramatic as I thought it would be. Alright, so this thing's in pretty bad shape. You can see this bar's bent. All this was bent. But I can get to the lower radiator connection now. Pull that out. Hopefully that radiator's in good shape. I mean, it was holding coolant. I flushed it out. Actually, I think, what did I do to this? I think I put a barrel of old used antifreeze in it while it sat all winter. But since it's been up here on the pad, I'm pretty sure I drained it out. I better double check that. We got, what the heck they've got here. Looks like they've done some welding on the fan shroud. See, part of the problem is people work on these, mess them up, put them back together, and they don't put the rubber shields in. You need rubber shields there, and you need them up here on the sides. Otherwise the air recirculates, they don't cool well. Can't put that stuff on there for a reason. So now I got to get the forklift out of here. It took a Mike Myers, Austin Powers maneuver to get it in here. Now I got to get it out. So I was, I was kind of concerned about this thing sitting for super long time. But then I remembered, see how badly pitted these grousers are? I mean, that's bad. Well, I remembered what Scott told me, the guy that sold it to me. This was sitting in a pit in California. The guys that had their business and whatever there at the pit they lost their lease and they had to get rid of these. This one had no undercarriage on it. They had a junk one next to it. They took the track frames off the junk one because they had new rollers and new tracks, and they put it on this tractor. So that's why there's no paint, absolutely no paint on the track frames, but yet there's paint on the tractor. So I think the tractor was running and operational, was working. So that's a good thing, because with tracks that looked like that, had the whole machine sat that long, I guarantee you the gears and stuff inside would look like that too. So if you're gonna work on stuff like this, you need a boom truck, crane. It's mandatory. I could lift that off by hand. I ain't doing it. Okay, now gotta get up on top, take the cover off, and then start undoing all this stuff. Okay, so apparently I didn't drain the antifreeze. I know I did. I drained all the water and junk out of it. I ran it and drained it and flushed it. And then this was an old barrel of stuff we drained out of some equipment when we changed it. Some fleet guards, some blue goo, and I put that in there so it didn't freeze it in the winter. So I undid the top pipe to the radiator and it started leaking, so I knew I hadn't drained it. Anyway, this looks like this radiator's been gone through fairly recently, but they've jammed stuff through here. Look how close they came to destroying it. Nice new radiator, and they've just dinged it all up. And these are the things I'm concerned about here. I'll have to straighten all these fins up, and I don't know, I'll see if I can steam clean through the top tank and the bottom, see if I can get the stuff out. I really dislike taking these apart, but if that's what I got to do, that's what I got to do. I mean, I'll get a jeweler's eyepiece and have a good look at that. If that tube's damaged, it probably needs to come out, and that tube needs to get plugged top and bottom with some solder. Anyway, as soon as it drains, I got to unbolt the intake pipe off the bottom and then undo all this. And then up top, I've got all the bolts out of the guard. You see those 3 bolts on the side, those go into the radiator, and then I think there's 2 in the top that hold it down. And then there's some holes you put a bolt in and a chain, and then you can lift that up out of there. Okay, I've got the crane hooked up to the radiator, but the G series and the early H have a tapped hole in the top of the tank there that you put an eye bolt in, but they've changed this one up, and I think you got to go through those bolts and then undo. There's 3 of those 5/8 bolts on each side, and then there's shims between the hard nose and that block. So when I cut that loose, I'm probably gonna lose the shims. That looks like a pain to put in, but I can't really think of a safer way to take it out. There's just nothing else to hook on. got bad news. I think I'm gonna have to disassemble it. Can you see the chunks in there? Big old globs of, I don't know what that is. Just tube clogging crap. Which means I'll probably be taking the oil coolers off to clean them out. But it's good to find that out now instead of later. So one of the things I need to find for this before she goes back together, I need to get a blast guard and put in here. And a blast guard is a honeycomb shaped piece that goes between the fan and the radiator, because we're running a reverse radiator, or I mean reverse fan, and that's gonna blast that radiator. That's not a cat fan, that's a Huber fan. Huber. So anyway, it needs the new rubber here. Somebody's bolted this piece on. It's a little too thick for getting this bolt in and out. The old G models have a way bigger inlet and outlet, and then they just use an O-ring on this pipe and 2 1/2-inch bolts. And then the other thing I noticed that's different between an H and a G is the size of the inlet hole. That's quite a bit smaller. So my theory is they're trying to hold the water in the radiator longer to cool more, take more BTUs out of the antifreeze before it goes back in the engine. They've increased the size of the radiator in the H's significantly because of the higher horsepower. Anyway, you have to remove the radiator to get the fan out. Oh, looky, my shroud's all broke up there too. So I'm gonna need to get a new one of those, build one, something. So anyway, I'll be taking a steam cleaner to this. That's a brand new radiator in it, and it looks like they put new side shields on it. They're in good shape, but there should be one here it's missing, and there isn't. I thought there'd be shims in there, but there's not. Anyway, these bolts on this side, the holes are kind of messed up, the threads in here. So I'm gonna have to run the threads, make sure they're good. And then when you put it on, I think a guy has to leave them a little bit loose so they'll go in there and snug these up and snug those up. Got a hornet's nest, and I don't know what those are. And I'm a little concerned about this tube. It's really the only one I see that's been damaged pretty bad is this one. They pulled the fins off of that one, which not a biggie, but where that was crushed, if I'm going to take top and bottom tanks off, I should probably have that tube plugged, or that is going to cause problems.